just straight off her TED Talk, straight off the Indian Times feature, and also the host of Virtual 48. And it's an all-female lineup, which includes N Shady, who's getting a bra.
I want to know how N Shady ended up in all-female lineup.
That is the April Fool's.
I was like, oh my god, I have to tolerate N Shady again. How does that go? Like, how does a crazy tragedy thing ends up becoming a joke? Like the journey.
What's the journey to a punchline? What's the journey? What is your favorite punchline?
I tend to write a punchline first and then work backwards. I'm a storyteller, so I don't write gags. So I generally have an end point of my story and I work my way backwards. Like a gag writer, I make sure there's a laugh every sort of 20 seconds. So I'm writing a series of gags, but I'm usually myself, I write backwards from where I want to be at the end. I have an idea and so I need to get to there.
What's a great punchline?
I mean, I think simplicity is the key with a good punchline. It's brevity. It's something small, getting something big out of something very little.
What I like about comedy is, here is my idea of doing comedy on open mics, that I work the whole day, right? I'm the 9 to 5 kind of a guy, all right? So I have got so much buildup in me in this 9 to 5 that I need to get an outlet, right? So that's why I go to these shows and I just say whatever it is, I find funny. Sometimes it hits, sometimes it doesn't hit. So it just gives me a satisfaction kind of thing and just gives me an outlet to just go and talk to people. So about the punchlines, what I like about punchlines is when there is a sharp left turn, like you're going straight and then suddenly people don't expect you to do a sudden left turn, right? So that's a kind of punchline that I like. And basically, when I do comedy or when I do open mics, I'm like, I give a big story kind of. So my punchline is very weak sometimes, but the whole thing which I say is kind of goes up to that funny level. And then I don't care about a punchline as long as people are laughing during my set, during my whole big joke that I have.
I was going to say the same, like the best punchline is, which is like non-predictable, because as a comedian, you know what is going to happen. So if it's not something that I already know, if it's something totally different, I love it.
Right.
So,
right.
I think that's what we use in English. In England, we call it misdirect, and it's beautiful.
Yes.
It's where you're going down one. Well, I've got this piece. I'm not going to tell the joke, but what essentially it starts as is me being accused of being prejudiced in a room with 3 black friends of mine and my mixed race partner, and it ends with them accusing me of being long neckish because I don't like swans or giraffes.
Right.
So it's that taking them down one road. I love doing that with the audience. I love playing with them and sort of really getting them with a bit of material where they think you're going to say. It's easy for me because I'm a white straight male comic. So it's easy for me to create those buttock clench moments with the audience where they're not quite sure what I'm going to say. And then just throw it down something absurd.
I did a joke last week in one of the open mics in which I built it up to the point where my daughter wants to become, now she's at an age where she wants to choose a career. And she told me that I want to become a criminal psychologist and serve the community. But that is a very dangerous job. So I told her that, look, if you really want to do something like, serve the community, help people, this and that, so this is the buildup. Then I said, you should become a chiropractor. So
a criminal chiropractor sounds.
Yeah.
When I think of a punchline, or the best punchline is the one thing that you connect with an audience and they're going to click that button and follow you on social media. What gets somebody to like you? And it is about attention, good or bad. Like I'm not mentioning names, and Shady. If you insult some of the audience, they'll remember you and they'll click that like, oh, I hate that guy, but I'm going to follow him because what is he up to? He's so outrageous. Whatever it is that makes them click, that's what I think about either the punchline, something that connected with an audience after the show that makes you want to go to follow them or click them on Instagram.
There's a performance angle to what I do. So sometimes I have jokes that don't have punchlines. The funny comes from my reaction to what I'm saying. The funny comes from the animation. The funny comes from and that's a skill I really respect. If you can make somebody laugh without delivering that punchline, just that's just
reaction,
respect.
yes.
Right. That's pretty tough.
Truly knowing yourself or your version of yourself on stage.
The only reason people want to come and see me again is because they didn't catch my whole name. I wore a green shirt because today is green room. Hopefully that's a punchline. I really like what Aberdeen said about the left turn, and especially what Colin said about it doesn't have to be written, right?
Right.
Sometimes something, just one small gesture that you do on the stage in the moment can become a huge statement, right?
I know you because we met in person. How great was it to meet me? Good.
It was glorious.
Can't believe he said that.
Oh, yes.
Glorious, spectacular.
Yes.
I can write a book about it. We had great fun.
Did you have a punch out of the meeting?
I did.
There's something that you do on stage that makes me laugh every time you do it. Is your reaction to it. You did a joke at the Joke Feedback Sundays every Sunday. You did this thing where you just stay in line and then you go, oh. Every time you do it,
Something that's so commonplace, that's so obvious, but we don't see it. And there is this comic who has seen it. Right. And, he states it, right?
True.
Like I've been watching a lot of Jim Gaffigan, and Jim Gaffigan in one of the, there's one bit about fairs, right? Going to the fair, right? Like he says, and he talks about like fairs and theme parks and water parks and whatnot, right? Like he says, some people, I hate watching people dressed in bathing suits and walking around with so much confidence. They really shouldn't have that much confidence. Right? It's got all those elements if you think about it, right? It's simple, it's so commonplace, and it's got that left turn factor as well.
If I'm delivering a joke, my main motive is for you to be not just funny but informative. Like you just have to walk out of the room with saying something so people remember you. That's my goal. Like it just have to land somewhere. So that's where people come up to you, like how Henry said, like people like, oh shit, you said this in the room, good, bad, or ugly, something you walk out as a funny guy or an interesting guy. So that's what I take. But I do the exact same thing, like just drive through the joke, and my punchlines does not matter. Most of the time it doesn't, because I do crowd work. So I think the execution is more valid than the result.
You could take anyone's punchline and not necessarily be able to deliver it in the same manner.
My best punchline, as you guys know, this is what happened when you stay in Bangkok for too long.
Yeah. There's one more.
Yeah.
There's one more.
It takes balls to remove balls.
That's my favorite punchline.
That's why. Yeah.
You know why? Because I have no balls. I need.
In the beginning, it's hard, like the first 2-3 years for me. Now I'm only into third year. So the 2 years for me is kind of hard because my mind is not working in that way. It's like set up, punch, set up, punch. So once I got used to it, now simply anything I can just punch it. What my advice is go to certain improv class that I'm taking. The improv class is helping me out to get punchline immediately. You don't have to think, your mind just pop, bam, there you go, that's the punchline. Bam, bam, that's you go, there's the punchline.